Throp here again. As you're probably hearing, Jamaica is on an unprecedented economical tear, and I know many people are interested to learn how they might be able to buy property in Jamaica, move here, or even start a business. Enter Throp-X. This is my annual Jamaica investment conference hosted at Travelers Beach Resort in Negril, Jamaica. If you're even considering moving to or investing in Jamaica, this is the best low-risk opportunity to do your due diligence and network with the Throp here again. As you're probably hearing, Jamaica is on an unprecedented economical tear, and I know many people are interested to learn how they might be able to buy property in Jamaica, move here, or even start a business. Enter Throp-X. This is my annual Jamaica investment conference hosted at Travelers Beach Resort in Negril, Jamaica. If you're even considering moving to or investing in Jamaica, this is the best low-risk opportunity to do your due diligence and network with the very people driving the country forward. This event brings together a group of hand-picked, trusted, top-of-their-field individuals, the best developers, contractors, real estate pros, lenders, and government partners, all under one roof to help you make your move. This is very much an action-focused premium conference experience geared towards empowering you with the tools and team necessary to create your Jamaica dream. We've partnered with the Tax Administration of Jamaica to help you get your TRN and even open a bank account, all conveniently located on conference property. One of the most popular parts of the conference is the real estate tour. It's the best way to understand Jamaica's real estate market, seeing and experiencing properties firsthand so you can compare apples to apples. Another incredibly valuable part of the conference is the people you will meet. Attendees have been some of the most dynamic, inspiring individuals I have met doing incredible things with their lives. As always, this year will be fun, educational, and actionable, giving you the tools, insights, and connections to invest, build, and move to Jamaica. For more information, please visit Thropex.com and join our mailing list. Hey there, Throp here. I wanted to interrupt just for a minute to tell you about my family's hotel, Travelers Beach Resort. We are a 60-room Jamaican-owned and operated hotel located on the world-famous 7-mile white sand beach of Negril, Jamaica. My father started this property back in '94, and myself and my brothers Winfield and Wingate took over in 2011 after my father retired. Recently, we've made some upgrades to the property, particularly to our rooms. They've been redesigned and reimagined with comfort and style at the forefront. The textures, the light, the layout, each space was designed with intention, balancing modern touches with the familiar spirit of travelers. Our deluxe rooms and suites, which you are seeing on your screen now, have gone through an incredible transformation. We now have 2-bedroom suites available for your accommodations next time you're in Negril. We're especially proud of our gym. It's designed to give you a high-quality workout experience with premium equipment, plenty of space, and an energizing atmosphere. Our lounge has become one of the more popular public spaces, perfect for a family game night or catching the big game. Of course, our restaurant and bar is located right on the beach, so you can enjoy the most beautiful sunsets in the world. We look forward to welcoming you home. For more information, please visit www.tbr.travel.
Welcome home.
What is happening? Can you all hear me okay? Happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you for joining this midweek live stream. This, of course, is our second live stream that we're doing every week. This is our Throp-X live stream. This would always be our Thursday live streams dedicated to my investment conference happening in November from the 16th to the 22nd. But of course, we have other things to speak about. We had a very, very big event happen yesterday, which was the national elections, which we won't spend a tremendous amount of time on, but I think it's very appropriate, especially given the prerogative of this channel and this community, which is investing, moving back to Jamaica. So that's kind of the umbrella, if you will, in which we'll be having our discussion, talking about the election a little bit, doing some analysis, and speculating on what this may mean for Jamaica's future. Of course, we're going to talk about Throp-X, which of course is our main theme for our Thursday live streams. Give you guys some updates on speakers that have been confirmed, speakers who are not coming, unfortunately, that I wanted to come, and going to continue to keep you up to date with everything happening with Throp-X. And then also, I'm going to say this up front early and remind everybody as well in the live stream, I'm doing a New York City meetup on Saturday. If you're interested, oh man, I didn't even put it in the description. If you're interested, give me 1 second. No, it is in the description. It is in the description. You can fill out the form in the description. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat as well. And I just need to get a sense of the numbers and how many people are coming. We've had a bunch of people who confirmed to our email this afternoon. So thank you for those who've confirmed that are coming on Saturday. And if you want to still come, we still have room, and I will send you the location for Saturday. So it's 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. So if you're around New York City, tri-state area, would love to have you join us. And it should be fun and great networking. If the London Connect I did in April is any indication of what's to come, it should be a really, really awesome event. Would love to have you there. Of course, as usual, let me know what city, what state, what country you're chiming in from. Always love to hear it. And I think it's a really great way of bringing us together here. So let's start off with just going through the comments quickly. And I want to jump into our first topic as quickly as possible, because these live streams are going to be shorter than the Sunday live streams. What's going on, Jeff? Appreciate you. Thank you for being a channel member. As always, really, really appreciate that. Welcome. Hello. Thanks for joining. To Sean, hi, Throp from Birmingham, UK. Just returned from Jamaica yesterday. Hope you're well. Awesome. I hope you had a great trip here. Jay Fitz, what's going on? Chiming in from Atlanta in the house. Babsy, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Thank you for being a channel member as well. Appreciate your support. Ms. Diagnosis says, I've watched so many of your videos that I decided to book with you guys for my upcoming vacation. Awesome. Looking forward to having you and welcome you home to here at Travelers. Thank you so much for that. And I'm confident you're going to have a wonderful time with us. Welcome, UK in the house. Awesome. Sherry Young, what's going on? Watching from Cincinnati. Thanks for having you. I remember meeting you in the lobby. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Sanel, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Greetings from Brooklyn. I've been working on establishing my Jamaican citizenship by descent and passport. PICA doesn't make it easy, but longing to live in Jamaica full-time soon. So as you bring up PICA, again, when I get into Throp-X updates, I'm going to bring this up again. Unfortunately, PICA will not be coming this year. I was trying to get them to come on a panel, to be part of a panel, but also part of the business activation day where you get your TRN and you open your bank account. That would have been like the third activation on that day to just help you along with the process, start the process, whatever have you. But unfortunately, they won't be able to make it this year, and we will try for next year. But that was one of the pieces of feedback that we received last year, is to try and get PICA to be part of the conference. So, we did our best. And hopefully they'll have the capacity and the time, the personnel, or whatever the reason why they're unable to make it this year. Hopefully they'll be able to be a part of it next year and participate. Would love to have them. And I know this is something that you all very much wanted. But best of luck with the rest of your journey with PICA and establishing your citizenship. Deshaun says, received my eligibility letter from NHT and awaiting my mortgage approval from JN. So in the right direction for my permanent move. Awesome. I love hearing these stories. For those who are willing to share anything like this, I think this is motivation and inspiration for all of us. We're all in different parts of the journey along that spectrum. Some of us are just starting off. Some of us are thinking about it. Some of us got one toe in the water. Can I afford it? How am I going to make money? Some of us are in towards the end of their career. They're about to retire. Maybe they are retired and they're just further along. They know their land. They know where they want to buy. They have their budget together. And so it's just great to know and hear about different people and getting an understanding of where they are along their Jamaica journey. And to Sean, congrats to you. Seems like you're well on your way. Well on your way. Misdiagnosed is chiming in from Atlanta. What's going on, Chris? Checking in from Panama City as usual. Nice to have you on. Sky Rose, hi from Chicago. We'll be attending Throp-X in November. Awesome, awesome. Looking forward to having you and meeting you. It is going to be, honestly, this is going to be the best one yet for many reasons. We'll get into some of the exciting stuff a little bit later. Diane, what's going on? Chiming in from Connecticut. Was diagnosed. You made your reservation already. Amazing. Alfonso Worth. Good evening. Throp is speaking. Has a citizen of the country. I'm extremely grateful. The people made the right decision to keep Jamaica on the path that it's on. I saw you commenting on one particular video today that was put out, Alfonso, but I didn't say anything. I just liked your comment on a video about, let's call it a reflection on the election. So interesting times. But yes, it was quite the night, quite the evening yesterday, and we're going to talk about it very shortly. Siobhan asked, what's next for Negril post-election? I'm going to save that comment. I think that's a great question. We're in an interesting position. I would say that we're in a very, very interesting position as a town and community. Georgina, what's going on? Chiming in from the DMW. Or do you mean DMV? I don't know. Let me know. First time reaching out, but watch all the time. This is from the Jamaican Life. Can we make sure that when the roads are improved, the sidewalks are always a part of the plan? So many new roads and no sidewalks. I think that's a fair criticism. Nicola, what's going on? Chiming in from sunny Dallas, Texas. Awesome. Alfonso, however, I'm disappointed in the people in Westmoreland. This government has a lot of great plans for the parish. DMV, that's what I thought, Georgina. Awesome. Nice to have you. What's going on? Learn, grow, invest community. Nice to have you. All right. Forgot to put all right. That's the forms right there that's coming in. If you are interested in meeting up with the Throp community in New York City on Saturday at 12 p.m., would love to have you join us. Just fill out that form and you'll get an email with the location, and we'll be good to go. So let's talk about it. The election. So last night I stayed up late watching it. Still got up early to train this morning, but I was glued in. And it was nail biting. It was some were close. Some races were closer than others, and ultimately the JLP won the election last night on election day yesterday. And you know, obviously this is not a political channel. I try to stay away from like hardcore politics, but at the end of the day, politics are always going to affect the bottom line for sure, the future of a country, the future of a community, as somebody asked just a few moments ago. And yeah, JLP ultimately won. Mr. Holness ultimately continues to be the Prime Minister of Jamaica. And I do think I personally think it's a good thing for the country to continue in the direction that it's going in. And as you know, on this channel, and from my stated personal experience being here in Jamaica 19 years, there has been just drastic improvements in the country, especially in the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years, more than anything else. And the interest in investing and moving to Jamaica has also skyrocketed tremendously. And we've gone as a community here, Throps community, we've gone from, especially in the beginning when crime was very, very high, we've gone from, in a sense, or maybe I have gone in a sense, from convincing people and telling people and saying, hey, look, if crime is the reason, are going to be the reason that you're not going to invest here and move here, that means you're telling me that you believe this will be a continuous problem, and it's always going to be like that. And I think that's one of the greatest things that we have seen in the last 5 years, I would say, at least, is the drastic decrease in major crimes in Jamaica. And I honestly, sincerely believe like it's just the beginning. If you listen to my interview with the Prime Minister a few weeks ago, the goal is like not to keep our foot off the gas pedal with that, and the goal is to bring Jamaica's um, our major crimes down below the regional average, the Caribbean, Latin American average. And I think that's a good goal to have. And I like the fact that that's being put at the forefront, and it's not something that we as a country, politically and otherwise, are satisfied with those types of numbers that we have done now. And it's been a great achievement. And so what I'm happy about, in a sense, is that we have the opportunity to continue down this path that I believe of a trajectory towards greatness, and a trajectory towards Jamaica reaching its full potential. And it did scare me along the campaign trail, if you will, to hear certain members of the opposition say that we're going to cut certain things that are happening, and cut, I would say, a lot of good things, positive things that we've built a good foundation on, and that you can build more on, to start them over or to do something completely different. And that would have been such a shame, such a shame. One thing that I heard was that the airport, with the Negril International Airport, would be done and over with. I'm just like, what are we saying here? What are we doing here? That doesn't even make sense. Every piece of data and evidence shows that an additional airport in Jamaica is needed, and that the Montego Bay and Sanctions International Airport is going to reach capacity in a few years. And so, and I understand that this is politics, and you got to say what you got to say to try and get elected, or to retain your power, retain your position. But some of the stuff was just, like, to me, nonsensical, and wasn't in the best interest of Jamaica. I also I also thought that, in terms of like we don't have to get into this like too deep, but the strategy of each political party, I think, was drastically different. If we can be objective, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Everybody in the community in the comments. And my take on this is that the JLP ran a campaign that was based on performance and what they have done, and they were like constantly promoting that and showing that, and this is the achievement, this is what we're able to do, etc., which I thought was great, and that was the strength. Whereas the PNP, I think they could have done, I don't know. The way they ran the campaign, like, it's all fair. It wasn't. Yes, they got into a lot of the mudslinging, and it was more of a negative campaign, if I'm going to be honest, and it just really was. But when you think about the strategy, you question, like, all right, what else could they have ran on? And before the whole campaign and everything, I would say, like, much earlier in this year, I couldn't get a sense of what they were going to do differently. Like, what was their substantive plan that they were going to put forward, that they were like, hey, something is not working, or something is not right, and we're going to correct that, and we're going to do it better. And so for me, there was just like a misalignment, and at least in my head, there was like a misunderstanding in trying to learn what they were going to do, and what they were going to do different, and what they were going to do to improve things in the country. And I couldn't get a real sense of that. And I watched a bunch of interviews. I watched a bunch of interviews with Mr. Golding, a bunch with Damian Crawford. I'm actually, yeah, I'm actually a fan of his. Like, I really am. I think he's really smart, really brilliant. But again, I don't judge people too hard on the on during this season, and that goes for like the politicians themselves, but also like how people and we've had it especially in the last live stream, people can be a little bit nasty, right? And get very, very emotional about politics and just go down like nonsensical rabbit holes that just don't align with reality and pragmatism and logic. And that's where I'm like, okay, this gets silly, right? This gets really, really, really silly to have discussions like this. And I'm not a person, and I understand people are going to be diehard Republicans, people are going to be diehard Democrats, people are going to be diehard PNP, people are going to be diehard JLP. And I respect it. I respect it. You know, there's a history there, and people have their reasons, but there does come to a point where, you know, like logic becomes important, or at least the argument in or the reasons in as to which you are making your decision or making your point. And if you're gonna, to me, I'd rather hear you say like, I was born PNP, I was born JLP, and that's what I'm voting. I was like, okay, I get it. So there's no point in us having a discussion, and there's nothing that anybody can do to convince you otherwise. And this is politics all over the world. This is not unique to Jamaica, and I understand it. But if to me, if I'm having a reasonable conversation with somebody, I would like to learn. I'm going into it with an open mind, and I would like to learn the perspective of the individual I'm having a discussion with as to why you think the way that you do and how you got to that conclusion. And maybe I have missed something. Maybe I don't understand something, your perspective, or perhaps the challenges that you and your community may have that I may be not privy to because I'm in my own bubble, because we're all in our own little bubbles here, right? And so when you have discussions of that nature with folks that just have no inclination of budging, or don't even have the mind to be open to understanding the person who may not agree with you ideologically, but you hopefully would like to have an understanding of that. But then it's just, what's the point of having a discussion? You know, what's the point of speaking with somebody? So that sometimes can be very, very challenging in a very highly political atmosphere. And, you know, again, like I said, I get it. And so kind of going back to the different strategies and the different camps, I was, you know, I never said this publicly, but one thing I was very worried about before I had interviewed Mr. Holness, and even way before that, and then even during, was like how he was like approaching the campaign and the strategy that he was using and the strategy that he stuck with, which was very much the high road. And it was, you know, it was like this thing, it was such a, in my mind, it was just like this incredible gamble, this incredible dice roll, that he sincerely believed that the Jamaican people would choose him again and his party based on what he achieved, as opposed to a propaganda strategy, you know. And I feel like the prime minister and the GOP could have gone down that path and really have fought fire with fire, and probably would have done a much better job of it, because you got the propaganda machine, plus you actually have the substance of a plan, and then plus you have history on your side, your history of achievements, of recent achievements on your side as well. And he decided not to do that. And I honestly like really questioned it, you know, and I was like, is this going to pay off? Is this the right thing to do? And I think that this has really changed Jamaican politics moving forward. And to me, it showed that a campaign based on negativity combined with, in my opinion, substance, at least from my understanding, like I really didn't understand what they were really running on. It was more the PNP, that is, it was more so I have to bring down the other guy, as opposed to like, this is their plan, this is our plan, this is superior, this is better, and we're going to do a better job in running this country than this other camp. And again, in my mind, more so like the way I saw it is like, we got to tear down what they did. And of course, no side is going to, for the most part, is going to acknowledge the achievements of the other side, right? And that's the game. That's the game. And I completely understand. I completely get it. And so I think with this campaign and this this election cycle, I should say, not campaign, this election cycle, being that the JLP have won and their strategy worked of, again, putting forward their merit and reasons as to why they should be reelected again, and then putting forward their plan forward, it showed me that we have an electorate that is a little bit more in tune than in past elections. They are more, we are an electorate that is more focused on getting the job done, doing the work, and putting people in power that they truly believe will get the job done. And that's what I saw. And then there's no way this is going to be the end of a mudslinging political system, if you will, in terms of campaigning and everything like that. I highly doubt it. But to me, this showed us that we don't have to go down that route. One party did and didn't win, and one party didn't and they won, right? And so I also think that when you look at even the electorate and how they were acting and interacting, at least from a social media perspective, I didn't go out there to the rallies or anything like that, but from what I've seen on social media and on the news, it was a very very like, it was still like we're Jamaicans, you know, and still hanging out together, helping one another. And I thought that was awesome. And again, that was another very important piece of evidence that showed me that certain behaviors of the past are not going to be tolerated, or people just don't want to have anything to do with that. And we want to move forward as a progressive, modern country. And I saw so many elements of that during this election cycle. And I think it's something that we should all be incredibly, incredibly proud of. I know I am, because I remember like being a kid and I can't remember which election, but like my dad's like, oh, it's probably not a good, we probably shouldn't go to Jamaica because of the election, because it can get nasty. And like in my mind, growing up as a kid, coming from New York, I was like, okay, elections are dangerous. That's not a good time to come to Jamaica. And so this was not the case. I never heard that. I never heard of any like real dangerous situation. I could be wrong, you know, that during this campaign or election cycle at all. And I think it's something that we should definitely pat ourselves on the back as a country. And I think it's going to continue to get better and continue to go along these lines of just a very progressive, modern democracy. And I think it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I really believe the prime minister was such like, I think a great, great example of this, of how he conducted himself, you know, during the campaign, even during the debates, during just like this crazy, crazy propaganda and rhetoric that was like so disrespectful. I would say unnecessarily disrespectful, but again, all is fair in love and war, as they say. And I don't think for a party and the way things are incentivized for the power grab, if you will, and looking to be the leader and leaders of this country, they didn't have much choice but to go in that direction. Now, on the side of like, all right, where does the PNP stand now? So things are obviously a lot closer in terms of JLP seats versus PNP seats in the parliament. And I always said, I've been saying this, like, I think it's so important for any country, any modern society, any modern democratic society to have like a really, really strong opposition. It's so important. There needs to be a checks and balance on any country. You know, no matter how good a person is, no matter how good a party is, you need to have folks on the other side of the aisle, so to speak, that are not countering to countering, but to question certain things. Like, we all need it, you know. And my hope is that the PNP are a great, great opposition. And perhaps I'm sure they're going to go back to the drawing board. Sure, they're going to go back to the drawing board because this strategy did not work. And I think if they were to try this same thing again in the next election cycle, I think it's going to be even worse. Because, and I say that because, and we're going to get into the economic side of things from my perspective, is because all indicators are showing that we are moving out of the phase of austerity and we're about to move into a growth phase. And this is like really what I want to talk about today. And even Mr. Golding said the same thing. Even Mark Golding said the same thing. And I heard him, I believe he brought it up in the debates, but I definitely heard him on the campaign trail say this, is that we're moving into a phase of growth. And I believe whether Mark Golding won or Andrew Holness won, Jamaica is still going to head in that direction no matter what. So now we have Andrew Holness, who's going to be, in my opinion, is going to be managing this projected growth that we're about to feel. And so why I say it's going to be hard for them to win again, and they have to come back very strong. You know, they have PNP, that is, they have to come back very strong during the next election cycle, because as we move into this growth phase as a country, you're now, and this was one of the biggest weaknesses of the JLP, because now I personally believe, now you're going to move into a phase where more people are going to feel the economic benefits of the growth phase that we're about to experience. Knock on wood, all economic indicators are showing that that's where we're heading in a very, very short time period, in the short term. And so now you're going to have just so much more of the electorate that are going to be benefiting from the foundation that was built, and also the sacrifice that has been made from a growth standpoint over the last 10 years plus. And now we're going to move into a phase where the country is going to be growing. There's going to be and should be more resources to be allocated to growth on a micro level, where the quality of life of the average Jamaican, again, if we continue to go on this path and in this direction, is going to be felt, right? And even the prime minister, he had mentioned that the minimum wage is going to go up, is going to double essentially to 32,000 a week, which is quite, it's significant. I worry about that in the sense of, I always talk about this with inflation, is that you're going to double minimum wage, which I think is great, but we also have to increase our, I'm not going to put a percentage next to it, but we also have to increase our productivity as a country. And they have to go up. I'm not saying they need to be equal, but they both have to go up simultaneously, or else you're going to have hyperinflation. It doesn't matter if you're going to get paid $100,000 a week or whatever it is. If it costs, $10,000 for a stick of butter, what does that mean? Extrapolate that out to everything else in the grocery store. It doesn't matter how much you get paid if everything else is going to go up exponentially, right? So anyway, like I said, it's going to be very difficult for the PNP to win again if we really do go into this growth phase that it seems like we're going to be going into. And more people, especially the average Jamaican, is going to be feeling the benefits of the foundation that was built. Because now you got to think about it, right? Now you got to think about it. This is a government that is going back into power, and they are already from a macroeconomic level, they are on a path to be extreme. We're already financially stable, and we are the most financially stable, from what I understand, than we've ever have been, especially if you look at our foreign currency reserves, than in the history of Jamaica. Our debt to GDP ratio is continuously going down. Our rating on Moody's as a country is continuing to improve, and we're continuing to be on that path. So Jamaica is being looked at from the international level as a safe haven to invest in. And as far as the perspective of people, we're looking to become an even more low risk investment opportunity globally. That's going to open up the financial markets in a way that Jamaica has never experienced before in its history, as far as I know. I mean, imagine. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but imagine where we become like a triple A rated country. I believe we are. I don't. Somebody correct me on this. I believe we might be triple B or B minus. Somebody correct me on that. We've come a long, long way financially. We've come a long, long way in terms of the amount of debt that we owe and servicing that. And I mean, it's what a time to be alive, really, as a country. To be on the way to be financially strong. Now, the important part of that, and again, going back to the weakness of the JLP, and that was one question that I actually doubled down on when I did my interview with the prime minister, was trying to get an understanding of the misalignment and the gap between these macroeconomic positives that was happening in Jamaica, and the understanding, or even feeling the reality of the average Jamaican, feeling the positive reality of this. And that was one of their biggest weaknesses. And now they have an opportunity to address it in a very, very, very strong way. And they were able, and I would say this, and I said this before I even had a podcast or anything, and especially when I first moved here. And I always thought that in order for Jamaica to move forward, and remember, I moved here in 2006, and particularly, and I said this before, like at that time, I just never really saw, it was hard for me to see, particularly Negril, having like a prosperous future. And I just thought things would never change here because things had stayed the same for so long and they were just not good. And especially when you definitely when compared us to other countries. When I used to travel in other Caribbean islands, I was like, man, we're just so far behind. And then as time moved on, I saw other parts of the country were getting these improvements and moving forward. And I was like, why not Negril? Why does this continue to happen to us? And now things are improving, and you're seeing this, but like I literally completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, like I just hope I just hope things continue to improve in a way that at least the opportunity is there, that the average Jamaican person will feel the direction and trajectory that we're on in a real way. Cause like I go to, I just remember my thought. Well, let me finish this off first. So I go to like other countries that they have much lower minimum wages than we do here in Jamaica, but of course the cost of living is much lower. And so it's kind of relative, but their quality of life, generally speaking, is just higher. I feel like Vietnam was like that when I went there. Thailand was like that when I went there. Medellin, Bogota, was like that when I went there. They just have much better infrastructure than we do, and just better amenities, unfortunately. So I hope we get there. We get there one day. And so anyway, I just remembered my thought that I was trying to make before, and what I said like in the early 2000s when I first moved here was that I thought that it would take some sort of leadership to sacrifice their prime ministership or to sacrifice their time in office in order to put Jamaica on the right track, because austerity measures are not fun. And if you're a person that is barely getting by, right, and you're just paying your bills, or maybe you can't even pay your bills, right, and you look and expect the government to help you to solve these issues, or at least alleviate some of these financial, emotional, family burdens, whatever have you, and they're just not doing it because they have to just pull back on their resources in order to pay off this debt, or to fix this emergency, or to deal with crime and invest in the police and all these things, as opposed to taking that money and, say, building a road that people will immediately give you political points and political credits, at least some people, right? And you could do that stuff, and you can do things politically and from a leadership standpoint that will perhaps get you reelected, but it's kicking the can down the road. It's kicking the can down the road. And what leader wants to do that with the incentive in their mind that I want to be prime minister, I want to be the president, and this is what you want to do? And the natural thing to do is to do the things that make the people happy, that vote you in power. But the things that make the people happy, at least at that time point, and you investing and taking resources to make the people happy for the sake of getting you elected, is not in the best interest long term for the country. And that's the period we've been going through for the last 10 years, I would say, in my opinion. And so it's hard for an individual who, again, is struggling to make their ends meet to, like, say, all right, I understand, we got to band our bellies for the next however many years, and after that, we'll be okay, or we'll be in a better position. Nobody in that position wants to hear that. The only time, like, I really like saw something of that nature, this is just from the history books from American history, was like, I remember, like, during World War II, and it was like this big, this campaign of, like, we're going to war, America, we got to come together, we got to make sacrifices. And obviously I wasn't around at the time, but from my history books and documentaries that I've watched, like, it was like everybody in America was making this sacrifice, taking lower wages, doing overtime hours, just so, and building, like, different weapons and war machines, and housewives were going to work, and all these things. America came together to defeat the axis of evil, and it was this big sacrifice that America made during that time. And that's the only time, like, I really heard that, and that I can remember, and I stand to be corrected if anybody wants to give other examples, where a country came together and they made this collective sacrifice, that I have to sacrifice for the greater good of my countrymen, the greater good of my country, and the future of our freedom, right? And so I'd say we did that, and gone through this sacrifice, so to speak, without that, in a sense. And the gamble paid off. The gamble really, really paid off to run a campaign like that, of that nature, to keep it above board, and to do more counterpunching than mudslinging, so to speak. And that's kind of what I saw. And it really is going to be, like, very interesting for Jamaica economically, investment wise, I think, for all of us, and I really believe that this is a positive thing for the island and for Jamaica. Even if you don't, you aren't a supporter of this party, you're on a supporter of Andrew for whatever reason, I hope that you will be happy and proud when, hopefully, that the quality of life for the average Jamaican just starts to rise slowly, and I think this is the beginning of that. So let me start go back to the comments. I don't want to make this like kind of like a one-way thing. I just been kind of going and going and going. I think this is a very, very interesting question. What's next for Negril post-election? Like I said, Negril is in a very interesting spot. I'm gonna get to that, but I want to just address some of your comments here. I know they've been coming in. All right, let's go up here. Donna J, what's going on? Good evening from Staten Island. In the house, see you on Saturday. Awesome. Looking forward to meeting you. Alfonso Ward says, exactly, this is the kind of politics is what kept us back from achieving our true potential for decades, talking about the mudslinging, the negativity, the propaganda. Yeah. Agreed with that. I'm not a fan of it. Rich Coven says, all I heard from PNP was bad mind for the prime minister's salary. Yeah, a lot of negativity, unfortunately. Mark Green says the PNP run campaign of attacks and negativity. That was just the fact. That was just what it is. That's just the reality. Matik Edwards says performance with a commitment to greater performance versus promises with a history of failure to carry out those promises. This shouldn't have been a close election, honestly, but tribalism exists. I could tell you like why it was a close election. And I agree. It shouldn't have been a close election. But the reason why it was a close election is two reasons. I stated one of them before, is that there's a huge gap in whether it was communication, but I also think in people's lived reality of the country doing so good economically, macroeconomically, but then you had a lot of folks who were saying that I'm not feeling it, I'm still struggling, I'm still not doing well, and so there's that gap. There's that gap in understanding and that gap in communicating what's happening and what's to come. And I've been saying like that was a weakness of the campaign. That's one. And then the other was the propaganda machine of the PNP. Straight up, like, it worked. I'm telling you, they didn't have a choice because I didn't really understand what they stood for and what was the substance of their campaign and why they were looking to be elected. I personally didn't get it. However, their campaign strategy of running a negative campaign, it 100% worked. And that's why people listen to it. Talking to like a lot of people out here in these Negril streets, and it's just a lot of it was just it was just nonsensical as to they were just listening to what, I guess this is what people do. They just listen without research and they just repeat the other thing that people say. And I'm like, did you really, are you understanding what they're saying? Like, when then you ask them, what do they stand, what are they going to do? And it just turns into like, it's a deflection, and then it's just like, Andrew this, JLP that. And it's just like, no. What are y'all gonna do? What are you gonna do differently? And when you try to pin them down, it's nothing. It's nothing. And that's what I kind of been hearing. So the negative campaign, it worked. It didn't work to the point in which they won. And that in itself is telling. But like I said, all is fair in love and war. And they didn't do, as far as I know, they didn't do anything illegal. But it was a nasty campaign. It was a nasty campaign. But that's going to be politics sometimes. Danny Gale says the burning remarks of the Golding and ensured that St. Andres, His Holiness, is once again the man in this Trinity term. Alfonso Worth says, I think Audrey Marks is going to be a light bulb in Parliament. She's brilliant. Yes. I agree. She is. She's really, really great. And I think that's a huge plus. Great call to call her home and bring her back in. I think she's going to do an excellent job. Sean says, I actually agree with you on everything you said in regards to the election campaigns. I also personally believe the better party won. Matik Edwards says, Mr. Holness was talking about Spark 1 and Spark 2, which will develop our roads and bring water to the people, houses, minimum wage, future reduction in crime. He made me believe in the future of Jamaica. And so, well said, Matik. And so that's the other thing, as like the water situation, like the water build out, it's going to take, I'll say for Westmoreland, the Negril area, it's going to take 3 years. They started it, I believe, early this year, late last year. It's going to take 3 years. That's going to be another thing. Like, there's going to be tens of thousands of people who are going to get running water that never had water before. And it's just this multi-million-dollar project that was started. And it's like these things, especially these infrastructure things, like this stuff takes time.
And I know the electorate, many parts of the electorate, like they don't have the patience to wait for it. And I understand that. I completely understand that. And I was like, and that's why I'm like, it's hard in terms of how the incentive system, how the incentive of the system of power is set up for you to do things just to get reelected, as opposed to doing more long-term infrastructure investments like this. And so I think that's one thing that's going to be great for this area. And we can confidently say that project is going to continue and hopefully be completed in the time frame that has been allocated. Rich says, after seeing how the U.S. changed up after changing leadership, I was very concerned Jamaicans would make the same mistake. Bunty says, Throp, what's the status of Negril Airport? I do want Negril to get an airport. I just hope the airport won't change the water quality of the Negril coast. Have the planners brought up this concern? So that's what I said. When people were being critical of the airport, good question. When people were being critical of the airport, it was more so people being critical of the fact that they were just saying Jamaica doesn't need another airport. We have enough airports, all this stuff. Like, to me, the number one concern with the airport should be the environment. That's my first concern with it being in Little London. And like you rightfully pointed, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's near the coast, so to speak. I guess technically that it is, but it's not by Negril Beach or anything like that. But to me, that should be the largest and biggest criticism or concern at this point, as in regards to the airport. We need it. CKR says, I love where Jamaica is heading under this administration and is the main reason I'm interested in purchasing real estate again. For a while, I had no interest. There you go. Anisha says, agree. I was just there, and the temperature was down. Good job, Jamaica. This is growth. CKR says, true, logical opposition is needed. Rich says, hopefully JLP doesn't get lazy. Absolutely not. We cannot allow them to get lazy. No way. I mean, that was one thing, one reason, Laura, I couldn't wait till this is over, the election, because there's so much work to be done. At least for me in Negril and Westmoreland, and it's just like, we need to start pushing this stuff forward. And this stuff is taking too long. And I knew we couldn't really talk about it or start pushing it until after the election. Now, give y'all a week, rest up. It was a hard-fought campaign. I get it. But very shortly, it's time to get back to work. And well said, Rich. Taylor Bell says, I'm so happy and excited for Jamaica. Next PM, Kamina Johnson-Smith. CK says, yes, it will be hard for the PNP to sway people next cycle based off current growth trajectory. Very, very hard. So they gotta get their stuff together, like starting from now. They really, 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 really do. And like I said, I really want them to be a strong opposition. And it's good. I think it's so good for a country to have two strong political parties, where it's just like, maybe we get to a place in 2030 where it's just going to be so hard to pick who do we go with, because they're just so good and so strong. That's not a bad thing for Jamaica. But they got work to do. That's for sure. Eversmore says, Throp, I think you're making a mistake. I like your channel, but you should never take sides in politics. I think it's bad for business. Let me know your thoughts. I mean, generally speaking, yes, I agree. I don't think I'm not a JLP person. I'm not don't get me wrong. I wasn't born into any political family or anything like that. I didn't vote. I never pushed anybody to vote for JLP, not at all. Everybody has their right to their opinion, and this is an investment channel. And the politics of this campaign is going to affect us somehow, some way. And we do have to talk about politics on this level, not to the point of coming in and trying to convince people to do this and to do that. Yes, I had the prime minister on my podcast because he's the leader of this country. And if you listen to the podcast and you listen to the direction and the spirit of the conversation, I would say it was based in two pillars of getting to know somebody on a personal level, or at least from a perspective that I've never seen shed light on before. One, and then the other is talking about the growth and the forward movement of the country. Very, very important conversations to have, I think, if given the opportunity to have with the leader of the country in which we live, we reside, we invest, make our living, and raise our families in. So, in no way do I consider myself to be JLP. In no way do I consider myself to be in PNP. I feel like if we're moving in a positive direction and things have gotten, in my opinion, so much better since I've moved here in 2006 compared to now in 2025. It's to be talked about, and like I have to talk about it because I'm not going to sit here and say things have stayed the same, and like I have to bring this to you, to my community. And I think we're like, as we move forward, we're going to be moving out of the political space, but these are conversations that I think are very, very important to have, extremely important to have. And I'd be irresponsible to have a platform of this nature not to have discussions like this. I really do. And I don't know where you stand on the political side of things, but I'm not afraid to have controversial conversations at all. And if the PNP won this election, we'd still be talking about the election, from a very, very different perspective for sure. But we still be doing an economic analysis of where we are and what we're going to be doing moving forward. And I think it's a great exercise. Rich says Throp is paying attention. Matik says if Mr. Holness accomplishes moving the minimum wage to 32,000, public beaches, roads, and water with Spark, larger reduction in crime and more hospitals and reduction in income tax, PNP will lose next election unless they come with something that we can't even think of right now. Chris John says, hi, Throp, usually a silent listener, but really interested in what you see as the growth trajectory and what industries. A genuine question. A whole country cannot build on just the service sector. I agree. Absolutely agree. I say like it can. I just don't think that is the best way to go. And we are, without question, like that is where you're seeing the majority of the very, very large investments coming to Jamaica. You're seeing these billion-dollar hotel projects coming on. I think there's going to be a lot of jobs created with the infrastructure projects that are coming online. As we talked about water, we talked about, well, maybe we didn't talk about roads yet, but there's highway projects, there's road projects. I do think there is room for improvement to attract other industries to Jamaica. And I really hope in this 5 years, this next term that the prime minister has, is that we see, and he's alluded to this, but I would love to see more of this, is just a doubling down, triple, quadrupling down on the upskilling and upskilling of our workforce, upskilling of our education system. And this is the thing that we have to focus on, I think, to really allow Jamaica to hit its full potential, is a focus on getting our kids to be smarter, getting our kids to have the average, a higher percentage of individual with college degrees. And this becomes more of a norm of people and young people getting college degrees, graduating high school, and we just become a more educated society as a whole. And that can be done, very, very quickly in a short period of time. And I think that is what's really going to help elevate the level of productivity, and also and this is the important part, I think, is the individual's productivity. Is this like, can we make, especially like our young people, we do have to focus on the existing workforce, let's say, not necessarily the workforce, the young people coming into the workforce, but yes, we need to focus on upskilling the existing workforce, but it's also the pipeline of young people, say even the 15-year-olds now that are going to be in 3 years, they're going to be 18, and in 5 years, they're going to be 20, and they're going to be part of the workforce. It's like, what are we doing now to prepare them to be adults and to prepare them to be productive members of society? You know, whether they're going to go into corporate Jamaica, whether they're going to go into a a trade skill. We want them to be the best that they possibly can, world class at whatever it is that they do. We want more of our young people to be given the opportunity to go to college, to become an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, or to be empower them with the skills to be a startup founder or an entrepreneur, or again to go into corporate Jamaica. So as if we can have more smarter, educated people going into, say, working for like, you know, a Grace Kennedy, a Lasco, and into their front offices that make those companies more efficient, so they can grow and become great. It all is part of the economic cycle, but it all starts with the human capital, and we have to be able to, I think, invest much more in that human capital in order to achieve our full potential as a country, or it's in corporate area or the private sector, with in medicine or in entrepreneurship or whatever have you. So, you know, long answer, but those are my thoughts on that question. Everett Moore says, I note that you interviewed PM on your channel, but never did the same for the opposition leader. Not a good look. Depends on how you look at it. I mean, we had these discussions as well, but I take it that you're you may be on the other side, and that's okay. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to make this into a political channel. That was like the main thing. Like, we could have done that. We were thinking about doing that, and it was just like, no. Like, he's the leader of the country. He's the leader of the country, and if Mark Golding had won, we already talked about this, me and my team. If Mark Golding had won, absolutely got to bring him onto the channel at some point and get an understanding of what the country is going to look like from his standpoint in terms of growth, economy, education, investment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the perspective. If you watch the interview, that's the perspective in which that conversation was had, and I went through that. So, yep, I understand some people are not going to appreciate that, but that's how it goes. CK, I don't think it's taking sides. It's more identifying the accomplishments of the current administration. Real lovers of Jamaica are loving this. Exciting times. Yeah, and this is the. I mean, that's the sentiment that I get. You know, real lovers of Jamaica are loving this. You know, not from a political standpoint. Like, Jamaica's moving forward. Rich says an international airport in Negril will make a big difference. Agreed. Andre says this administration needed to adopt crypto or we're going to get left behind. I don't know much about that stuff, so I'm not going to comment. Shauna, what's going on? Good to see you. Happy Thursday, and thank you for being a channel member. Appreciate you. CK, time for people to unite and start creating sustainable industries. Mr. Info says Mark is not a good representative for Jamaica on a global scale. PNP has to get someone better. Rich says, as long as Jamaican leadership isn't radical, they will be fine. Hideko says, Andrew Atif, the PNP 129. Andrew, pull a fast one. All right. Okay, if you think so. Batik says, that's why Mr. Holness is a chess player as it is pertains to austerity measures, because when he won in 2016, he needed to continue austerity measures, so he introduced a 1.5 threshold and no new taxes. Yes, and I realized that, and I actually respect him for that as in being a chess player. I mean, I was like, honestly, like last few weeks, I'm like, man, I hope he knows what he's doing, and he obviously did. He obviously did. Rich says, Throp stream of consciousness requires no co-host or guest. Thank you. Sometimes I just go. Mintique says, in order to stay in power, the term is when the infrastructural spending is going to happen now that austerity is over. Delroy says, productivity needs to improve. A lot of that is my opinion. Yes, I agree. Productivity does need to improve. Andre says, Jamaica needs its own stable coins to counter MoneyGram delays, earning more, and reinstate Vail, the JMD. Not sure what that means. Galloway, Kevin, what's going on? Greetings to you, Agent Throp and Throppers. Super thanks to you and all my fellow workers for good. Dean Messam, money was paid to vote. Where, when, how, evidence. Lamb says JLP was just as nasty when since Jamaican politics start talking about who's Jamaican and who's not. Baby Trump. I mean, like I said, I think the JLP did more counterpunching than punching, my opinion. Alfonso Worth says no, it didn't work. Throp, they lost. Fair enough. Fair enough. Lem says, just say you're labor right. I promise you I'm not. I promise you I'm not. Gareth says, PNP preyed on the uneducated and sheep-minded poor people. Jeff Rogerson says, I think your interview with the PM was able to put him over the top. Maybe. I've met a few people. Oh, well, I'm not even going to say that. Thank you, Throp, for speaking for what's right. You're welcome, Alayla. I am MJ. Most Jamaican people are ignorant when it comes to politics. Anywhere money win below, there they goes. Votes for sale. Again, evidence. I don't know or heard of any of that. Not saying it did or didn't happen. Alfonso Worth says, I think the prime minister is going to do a great job to develop the entire Jamaica, whether a parish voted for him or not. Andrew Holness truly believes Jamaica is love Jamaica and is passionate about its development. AP says, I think your interview with the prime minister painted a vision of Jamaica as a Singapore-like country, but the lived reality for folks on the ground drives elections. Happy to see how Jamaica is growing. CK says, can't have too much airports waiting. Galloway says, never got any cash to vote. I'm not really interested. I've always been self-employed. I am MJ876 says, why did the PM wait until the night before elections for raised minimum wage? I don't know. Can't have too many airports waiting for Vernon Field Airport to be converted into one. This could open up the South Coast in a major way. Marlon Pierce says there's bias here. Both parties have their strengths and weaknesses. Yes. I think hopefully I addressed both. Marlon Richards, listen, brother, the Jamaican people is very ungrateful because if the government done so much and this low, how we reward the government 34 seats. Like I said, I think, I've made my point. I don't know if you were on earlier as to why I think it was so close. And in many ways, I don't think it should have been so close. But, I made my point earlier on as to why I thought it was so close. Kevin says, is there not 3 candidates on the voting paper? For sure, yes. You didn't interview MG, only PM. Yep, I already talked about that. I might be getting these comments late. Sorry. CK went to school with Nesta, good human who wants better for our country. Teresa says, hi, Throp. I know that Negril is in your end, but my dad bought our home in Portmore in 1967. I'm trying to decide if we should remodel it or sell it. Is there a plan at all to grow all or just a few gated new gated Portmore? I'm not sure. I'm having a couple of realtors coming to Throp-X that are focused on the Negril, Portmore, Spanish Town area, and they're going to be guests in the near future on the Thursday live stream. So I think this is a good question for them. I can't speak to that, but we are going to have the experts on who know that area way better than I do. Diane says, as an investor in Jamaica, then you must be logical about politics, whichever side you're on. You can't deny the progress under PM Holness. Absolutely. Alayla says, Throp, your channel is going to be just fine. What you're talking about is going to affect investments. No weapon formed against you will prosper. I agree. That's not something that I'm afraid of. To me, you're gonna come to this channel, or you're gonna listen to me, or consider the things that I'm saying here to your benefit. It's honestly, like, that's what it is, and that's why I'm not afraid to, in this context, to speak about politics. And so if you're coming to this channel, or maybe you don't want to listen to me because I interviewed the prime minister, or you don't want to listen to me because I appreciated the way this campaign was run. Okay, I mean, it maybe you might not be a potential investor. You may not be a person who's looking to gain information and knowledge on the best places to invest, or to learn about the best people to work with to help achieve your Jamaica dream. And you're like, all right, I'm not going to listen to Throp, or I'm not going to listen to any of the guests he has on. I'm going to go figure this out my own. Go ahead. Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what this is about. I'm not trying to sell you anything in particular. I'm not trying to sell you on politics. I'm not, in a sense, I'm not even really trying to sell you on Jamaica. I'm here to present you information and hopefully empower you and help to facilitate whatever it is that you are trying to achieve with your Jamaica dream. And you can choose to listen to me or my guests that I have on or not, but I'm bringing it to you and in an objective way, hopefully, and just empowering you to make a decision on your own. I'm not going to say you have to come invest in Negril, or you have to come do this, or you have to work with this person. Like, no, I'm hopefully helping you skip the line, so to speak, and I'm hopefully helping you to skip major headaches, and hopefully helping you to skip and learn from the mistakes of many other people. And we've talked so much on this channel this year, unfortunately, about many developments that have not gone the way that they were intended to go, and people lost life savings, and people are dealing with, looks like, a 10-year runway of a headache of dealing with this developer. And I'm here to help and assist you to avoid scenarios and situations of that nature. And if having a discussion on this campaign and what has recently happened upsets you to the point that you don't want to listen to me or don't want to be a part of this community, that's completely fair and that's completely on you. But again, that's not what this channel is about. All right, let's keep it moving. Georgina says, I hope one of the main focuses will be improving the water supply system. A few more dams are well needed, especially in Kingston, where housing development is growing. James Apple, what's good, Throp? My brother won Western Westmoreland, and JLP won the Parliament. That's right. By 2030, upscale society. I believe so. That's what I'm thinking. Yes, reduce the brain drain and start building our nation. That's right. Kenroy Thomas says, Everett Moore, why speaking on the fact, the bad thing, I'll let you guys have the discussion. We'll just call you Jello. Any thoughts on how someone could ramp up investments in Jamaica starting at $10K rather than jumping in by purchasing $500,000 property? $10,000. What would I do with $10,000? I don't know. $10,000. You might be, man, there's not a lot that you can do with that, I think. That might be more of a startup of a small business here, maybe along the lines of some sort of service business. But you may need more so like of a partnership. This is just kind of off the cuff of partnering with somebody. And I don't know if you have a particular skill that you can offer more sweat equity in something in either a project, but $10,000 is pretty low, especially if you're trying to come in the real estate sector. There's not much that you're going to be able to do with that. Not much. I mean, unless somebody gives you something to refurbish, and yeah, you're gonna have to do a little bit of entrepreneurial gymnastics with that one. Let's keep rolling here. Kylan Henry says Jamaica is on a launching pad. I agree with you, sir. Yep. I really believe so. Didn't expect a Thursday stream back to back pause. Yeah, we're doing Thursday streams every Thursday right up until Throp-X. So this is going to be every week. Alayla Lee says, Throp, your channel is going to. Oh, I read that already. Sorry. Let's keep rolling here. Let's see what else. Please, everybody, listen to Alayla. Hit that like button. Marlon Pierce says, my balanced opinion, short-term prosperity, jobs, investment, lower debt. JLP has the edge, long-term social justice and equity, reducing inequality, inclusion, community well-being. PNP has the edge. Fair enough. Matique says the 1 degree per household was the only idea I kind of like from the PNP, but there might be more efficient way to do that, but it could help with the upskilling of the workforce. I actually like that. That would be amazing if we got to that, a situation of that nature. 1 degree per household. If Jamaica wants to grow, the bigger pie JLP seems better. If Jamaica wants to share more of the pie, PNP feels better. Seems better. Both have strengths. The real challenge is whether Jamaica can combine JLP's fiscal discipline with PNP's social vision. That's where the country would truly win. Copeland Russell says, thank God for the PM, then more years. Jay Fitz says, as someone who has invested in Jamaica, I was paying close attention to both candidates. I saw the PM talking about policies and plans for the future, but I never heard anything from the other candidate. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. I was really truly looking for that. Really truly looking for that, but I didn't really see that. I didn't see that. Oren says, greetings, Throp. I welcome the government being returned to office. I know investors who are happy. They didn't want to have to start over negotiations, as usually happens with new administration. Lamindi says, alas, if we leave it up to the folks in Westmoreland and Hanover, we will never be like Singapore. Marlon Pierce says only 30% of the population voted. That's right. Population, 38% of the voting population voted. Shardeen says, my biggest problem with the opposition, they have an investment banker running as a socialist. How can anyone explain that? Lamindi says it wasn't very detailed and spelled out, but the raise in minimum wage is mentioned in the JLP manifesto on page 40, number 70, page 40, number 76. I want a copy of that manifesto so bad. I know it's online, but I want a physical copy. I'm going to try to get one. I didn't read it, but I definitely want to try and get my hands on one of the physical copies of the manifesto. If anybody knows how I can grab one, I'd really appreciate that. CK says, I truly appreciate your channel. Glad I found it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Copeland Russell says, God bless the PM 10 more years. If you love Jamaica, you will love what the PM is doing. Matique says, Throp, did you get the Prime Minister's number to keep in touch with him to make sure he delivers for Negril the way he promised, or at least give you time frame on when the airport would start? No, I do not have the Prime Minister's number. That would be crazy to have that in my contacts list. But no, I didn't get his number. But for sure, there are a lot of things that I'm going to be there are a lot of things that I'm going to be following up with in my own way as a citizen, not even from a platform standpoint, but I just want and we're about to get into Negril. I can't believe we've been talking about this for over an hour right now. We're going to get into Negril in a second and spend a few minutes on that. But yes, this is a space that I will absolutely be watching and bringing to you all, especially and particularly from the perspective of investment, not a political perspective. Andre McKinsey says, people are too emotional. That's why Jamaica was stagnant in the past. As an investor, you need some level of governmental influence or even backing. Very true. Mr. Heart of Love, Throp, ignore those negative comments. They can only see party colors. We looking at for the better party. Andrew did way more than any other PM. I agree. I think, and that's subjective. I mean, a lot of people say that. I mean, I was even at the barbershop today saying and these guys are not political guys. That I don't want to upset anybody else. All right, let me keep rolling. AP, I think some don't realize that political economy is crucial to understand. Most of us in the diaspora left due to economic/political choices. Now we are looking at Jamaica because of a good economic decisions. There you go. Nicola Sithrop, I absolutely agree with you that you have been saying it's okay for everyone to have an opinion, and we can agree to disagree and not being taken in a negative way. That's right. That's right. Roy's Guest House, hi Throp. Now that the election is over, I hope we can get better and more information on the oil discovery because we are all in the dark. Yeah, we didn't discover any oil yet. Make that clear, but hopefully that does happen. Andre says Jeff Bezos wasn't a Republican, but he kissed the ring in the name of Amazon so it can survive. James Williams, what do you think about developing South Manchester / Canoe Valley? I really don't know that space that well. I honestly, I can't really comment on that. I don't know that area that well. James Apple says most of the YNs of the Jamaica voted in droves. They don't want to go back to Stone Age. Yeah, James, you're a funny dude. DeAndre says one, Andrew, never two. Oren says the opposition focused on character assassination of the PM. They never gave us any plan, so they got what they paid for. And I agree with that. They definitely, that was their focus, is to trying to assassinate somebody's character, and it didn't work. And the results showed last night. What about rare earth minerals and bauxite as an industry? Yes, that's a thing, and I think that's something that is being considered. I've heard, I worry about this from the environmental standpoint, but I heard the Americans are looking into partnering, so to speak, are coming to Jamaica for that. But again, my initial thought is like, hey, what's that going to mean for the environment? King Naldo says, congratulations to Andrew on winning the elusive three-peat. However, I'm appalled by our own Jamaican YouTubers who are spewing vitriol on a biracial Mark Golding racial background as non-Jamaican. They are? Who's doing that? No. Yeah, I hope people aren't getting nasty like that. All right, let's talk about this comment. Sivanj, I hope I'm saying your name right. Ramchandani. What's next for Negril post-election? So I do have my concerns with Negril, honestly. So as James alluded to earlier, James Apple alluded to earlier, the PNP won basically the entire West for the most part. And so now Negril is under PNP leadership with a JOP leader, right? And this could be tricky for Negril. And I don't like it. I don't particularly like it, because if you look at how the incentive structure is set up politically, and like this is what it is, right? This is what it is. I'm not saying this was going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So Ian Hales is our new MP. So if Mr. Hales does too good of a job, let's say, and I don't know a lot of what his plans are and what he's going to do and yada, 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 then he's going to continue to be reelected, which the JLP doesn't want. They want to take back this area. And so it is not in the JLP's interest to support Mr. And again, I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen. It's not in their best interest in terms of, again, how the politics and the constituents are set up. It's not in the JLP's best interest to make him look good, so to speak, and to maybe give him the resources and backing that he needs to elevate Negril and make things better here. And so that is where my concern lies, right? And that would be an example of the politics of the old, right? And that's just how it was. That's, I moved here under PNP. I always thought it was going to be PNP. Everybody told me it was always going to be PNP. And the last election cycle was the first time, I don't know if ever, or maybe if it's not ever, it's the first time in an extremely long time that a JLP had taken over this area, but they couldn't keep the seat this time. I have my opinions on that. I think a lot of silly things were done. I also think there was a lot of missed opportunities by our previous MP. Had it in the bag early on, but it's just really, really missed opportunity. I just hope that he learns as a young MP from his mistakes and takes a lot of accountability as to why he didn't get the nod to run against Ian Hales. I'm talking about oh my gosh, completely forget. His name just escaped me. I'm sorry. But anyway, they switched somebody out last minute, so to speak, to go up against Hales, and it didn't work out. Which I didn't necessarily think was a good idea. And here we are. And to me, it's like I know Ian quite well. We speak very good, and definitely wishing him all the best. He's going to have he'll have my support. I can't speak for the whole of Negril, but this is something, this is our guy. He's going to be our representative in Parliament, and he's going to be the one to go to bat for us. And when we need things, and when we need things to move here, the beach park, the fruit and vegetable market, the road, water, all these things, he's our guy. He's our guy. And so I do hope, and somebody mentioned this before, that they believe Andrew Holness is a person who loves Jamaica and he's going to look past this. And I do believe that as well. I do believe that all of the promises that somebody had asked me about before, that he's going to come through on, and he's going to make that happen. All these things happen are promised, are going to continue. And we as the Negril, we have suffered because of this. And then this is how politics has to be incorporated in part of investing, because we as private sector investors, we can't go out there and fix the road. We can't go out there and start laying pipes for the West End that has never had, Deep West End in particular, that has never in the history of history have running water. We can't do that. We have to depend on the government, and we have to advocate for that. I juxtapose, and this is where my quote unquote jealousy comes in. I juxtapose Negril as a community to that of Treasure Beach. And as you may or may not know, I spent some time there last week in doing my due diligence for Throp-X, for Throp-X this year. And they are a united community, more so than we are here in Negril. I'll tell you that. They are a united community. And Negril, when I first moved here, we're way better than we were when I first moved here, but we're still far behind Treasure Beach, far, far, far behind Treasure Beach. And I see why they're getting the attention that they're getting, and why the government is working with them and pouring seemingly more resources into that area than here in Negril, at least at a seemingly a faster pace than here. It's just like they're all singing the same tune. Negril is far more divisive, unnecessarily so. I should say this. I'm part of this WhatsApp group, this Negril WhatsApp group. And maybe some of the people who are in that WhatsApp group are listening to this and watching this. Not going to say the name. And it is just an unbelievably negative group. I mean, crazy. Just so negative and pessimistic. The glass is half empty group in the biggest way. And I'm just like, I scratched my head when and I'm in this group. Sometimes I want to leave because it is so negative, but I can't, because it's information. And then it also gives you insight into the psyche of a group of people from Negril. And some of the people in this group are very influential. And I'm like, man, this is the energy that you're bringing to a Negril group, a Negril focus group, and supposedly a group that wants Negril to move forward. And it is just so bad sometimes. And I like reading some of these comments and the ignorance and the infighting in these groups of people just going back and forth and bashing each other. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like, how are we ever going to move forward as a community where so many of the influential people are participating in this extremely negative conversations and ideologies, and I'm just like, man, this is just crazy to me. It's just so crazy to me. But it speaks to why, in my opinion, like it speaks to like why we have not moved forward at the pace that we should be moving forward. I continue to believe that we are going to move forward. Like we're probably going to move faster than we ever have very shortly, but we should be so much further ahead than we are right now. I really, and that group makes me understand why it has taken so long to get to where we are. Honestly, I'm just like, my God, this is how you think. And like, to me, it's just like, if you've gotten to the point where you're articulating in written word just such vitriol and negativity, what goes on upstairs in your head? What are you saying to your community and your spheres of influence and your friends and your family? What are you putting out there into the world? And so, yeah, that's my concern with Negril. Is really the political incentive structure, and maybe, like I said, I don't think I hope that's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not guaranteeing that's going to happen in any way. I truly believe that, as somebody had said and asked, that the promises made for this area will be kept. I sincerely believe that. And I do want to understand and get a timeline of all these promises for sure. And it's in my best interest, my family's best interest, the Negril community's best interest, the Throp community, the investment community's best interest to get an understanding of where we're going and what we're doing and how and when all this is going to happen. So thank you, Moreland Wilson. I forgot his name. That's the former MP of Western Westmoreland. So sorry about that. All right. Let's keep rolling here. A few more comments, and then I'm gonna go into some. I think that's the last thing. Thropex updates. Yeah. James Julian says, I think the coast of Manchester could be the new/next community tourism spot after the South Coast boom, and I'm here for it. Throp, you know the game, you know the play. It's the same tactic, no change. James Apple says, count me in for Western Westmoreland. Mad Train, the whole Westmoreland and Hanover Parish went back to PNP. That's right. Angels sold out the locals. Wow. Are you updated on what's going on? Because you make a 9-year promise and I haven't happened yet. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Chai Flow. KNS says Andrew Holness and the JLP are creating real opportunities for Jamaicans. And if this momentum continues, the nation could see a sharp decline in crime and corruption alongside stronger economics. That's what we need. I think I know which one you're talking about. I just joined the group recently. Welcome, James. Welcome to the group. It's a fun one and sometimes entertaining, but that's not what we want. Alayla says, I feel bad for Negril. They need to change their mindset. And I said this before. What will need to happen with Negril? What has to happen in the future? Negril needs to become its own municipality. The Prime Minister talked about it, and there's certain things that are in play, that has put us on the path to achieving that. And I hope this happens sooner rather than later. And I think as a community, we need to push for this like crazy. We need direct representation. King Naldo says, I saw several of those YouTubers earlier today saying some crazy things about Mark, which is sad because regardless of our obvious differences, we're all Jamaicans out of many, one people. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Don't support that at all. Orange says, King Naldo, I'm sure they could have done a lot worse. Negril, King Naldo says Negril will be taken care of. I strongly believe Andrew is going to make an overhaul of the town, but like I've been saying, those informal communities must go to create more space for developments. Yes, and that's where the That's where the urban center is going to go. That's where the urban center is going to go. My friend Scott bumped into you in Treasure Beach last week. He also said it's beautiful there. Scott. Did I meet a Scott? Are you talking about us? Are you talking about Scott Dunn? Is that who you're talking about? I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Thought I think there's a troll or a bot. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, let's move into. Thank you, everybody. This has been a very, very fruitful discussion. I appreciate everybody's feedback. Yeah, this was good. This was good. I'm glad we had this, and this is always engaging when we talk about these topics. But like I said, we're back to work here. I'm very excited for that. The train keeps on moving forward, and the positive things, the great things that we've been talking about over the last few months and definitely few years, it's going to continue. And all things being equal, no catastrophic hurricanes, wars, economic recessions, and everything like that, or anything like that. I think we're going to do good. I think we're going to be okay, and we're going to continue to watch this space and keep talking about this, and it's going to be some interesting times in a positive way, in a positive way. Oh, Scott Dunn, yeah. That's the homie. Yeah, it was good seeing him. Good seeing him there, real quick. All right, let's move into some Throp-X updates. So first, I just want to remind people I'm doing a meetup in New York City on Saturday. If you are interested, would love to have you and meet you and see you there. I'm just going to ask you, if you're interested, to just sign up here. And you can also sign up in the comment section. Not the comment section, in the description below. The form is there as well for those watching on the replay. And I'll send you the information. I know some people hit me up on Instagram. If you need to, and if for some reason you didn't get the email, just hit me up on Instagram at Throp, and I'll send you the info right there in my DMs. Would love to have you. We are probably going to have a cutoff at some point tomorrow, because as we build a list, like I said, I don't want like 200 people there when I know there could easily be 200 people there. Not that sort of venue. I promise next year, London Connect and also New York City Connect, we're going to open it up. We'll do the 100 to 200 people meetup event. I just don't have the resources to manage that sort of crowd, nor have I chosen a venue that can take that capacity. So please let me know, confirm that you are coming when I send you the email. And if you're not coming and you can't make it, just let me know too as well. I would appreciate that. So Throp-X updates. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the negative update is that Pico won't be joining us this year. They can't make it. We reached out to them. They got back to us today that they are unable to do it this year, but perhaps next year that they will. And I know they were one, based on the feedback that we got last year, they were an organization that people really wanted to hear from. And we also wanted them to come this year. But next year, we're going to try to get to them, to have them participate in Throp-X 2026. So that's that. A lot of the speakers, and I would say many elements, and I should have anticipated this before, many elements in the planning of Throp-X has been dependent on the election. Some of the government organizations had to wait to see if things are going to be reshuffled, or the opposition is going to come in and change things, and they won't be the one representing that organization. And I understand, I get that sort of thing. So I think as we move into next week, I think things are going to flow much freer, and we'll be able to confirm people more and more. We'll be able to confirm sponsors. That was another thing. A lot of sponsors were waiting till after the election to confirm. So again, another reason to be happy that this thing is finally over and is behind us now at this point. Speakers. Oh, we have confirmed. I'm not sure if I said this on Sunday. We have confirmed the CEO of NEPA. He's going to be speaking. Leonard Francis. He was one of the, at least from the feedback forums, one of the highest graded panels last year. Very, very important. So for those who don't know who or what NEPA is the National Environmental Planning Agency. In order to do any sort of construction, building, development, you have to go through NEPA. And then you also, what's unique to Negril, you have to go through the Negril Green Island and Planning Authority, or we call it NEGALPA, and to get anything approved. And NEGALPA is very unique. It's a very unique organization. It's an environmental planning agency in this sense, local environmental planning agency, that is different from the parish council. And the parish council also is another government organization that you have to go through. And so they are going to be here. And these are, I would say, baseline education panels that are important if you're going to be moving here, you're going to be investing here, you're going to be building here. These are the folks that you want to hear from. These are the folks that you want to learn from. And so incredibly excited to have Mr. Leonard Francis coming on again this year as a speaker. As mentioned before, sorry if I'm repeating for those who have already heard this, but this year we are doing 2 days of real estate tour. So we're of course doing Negril, a lot of exciting things happening in Negril as usual. And I try to bring you to the forefront of all of this, of all of what's happening. And the second day, we are going to the South Coast. We're going to Treasure Beach. And so there's some pretty exciting stuff in White House, but it is very, I'm not even going to say here because it's so premature, but we're going to learn about it. I doubt we're going to make a stop in White House in terms of stopping and getting off the buses. I think we're going to maybe drive past and show you where some major developments are happening in White House. This is, I don't know if it's official. I can't say what it is. So anyway, and then we're going to make our way to Treasure Beach, and so many exciting things are happening there. And so what I'm doing is I am, with my due diligence, there are many things I am negotiating on your behalf, the participants who are coming to Throp-X this year. And I can't announce them because a lot of them haven't been confirmed, but trust me, I'm negotiating on your behalf and trying to create opportunities and deals for the people who are coming. And this is something that we're doing very different from last year, because we're also going to be releasing as much as we can the properties that we're going to be visiting, because it's going to be so hard for us. And I already know that this is going to challenge. This is something I'm going to have to be figuring out in the next 30 days. It's going to be very difficult for us to choose which properties, which developments, which land parcels that we're going to be visiting. But I still want to be able to give you everything that we were on the list that we were considering. So those folks, say if maybe you're coming in early, or maybe you're staying later, and we perhaps didn't visit something that you were interested in, you have the information there, and is going to be part of your packet that you get. Speaking of packets, another thing that we're doing this year is we're incorporating a piece of event technology called the Hoover app. And I don't know if anybody's been to an event and has interacted with this app. I've never seen it in Jamaica. I've never been to many events in Jamaica, and I've never seen it rolled out. And this app, I saw it. I went to a YouTube conference, I think it was 2021, 2022, and this app was incredible. It was a great communication app. It was an incredible networking app. It was just extremely streamlined, because one of the pieces of feedback that I've got from previous Throp-X conferences was that it's like trying to drink water from a fire hose. It's just so much information, so much value coming at you so hard, and people can't keep up with it. And I know we got the replays and people can go back and watch the videos, but there are things that you're going to miss. And so with the Hoova app, everything's going to be there. The sponsors, the speakers, the profiles. You'll also be able to communicate with me. You'll be able to communicate with the speakers, get your questions answered directly, set up a meeting afterwards. Again, if you're staying longer and there's a piece of property that you're unable to see, maybe you meet up with a realtor who's in charge of that, go on the Sunday or Monday and take a personalized tour and to go visit that. And so it's a great, great piece of technology. Very, very excited to be rolling it out in the next 2 weeks. And so you'll be getting access to this before the conference. So you're probably getting this, if you've already signed up for the conference, you're going to have access to this mid to late September. And you're already going to start your conference experience from then. I think that's so much better because it's going to empower you and prepare you so much more so you can get even more out of the conference, get even more value out of the conference once you get here. And so very, very excited for that piece of technology. It's very expensive, but I think it is just so amazing and really, really, it's just very worth it, and we're a premium conference. And I think bringing in premium technologies of this nature is just complementary to the experience. And I think it's just going to elevate things to just a greater level moving forward. So super, super, super excited about the Hoova app. And so those are pretty much I would say the main updates for Throp-X. I can't think of anything else that came through. We're working very, very hard. Of course, this is like an exercise in how good are you at logistics. But this is our 4th year in doing it. So we're very, very excited. And we have a lot of great partners that are coming on and sponsors. So excited for it. This is going to be, without question, this is going to be our best year yet. And we just continue to try to level up as much as we humanly possibly can. All right. So I think we're going to close out there. Once again, a reminder, if you want to meet up in New York on Saturday, sign up for that in the description below. I'm looking forward to meeting you all. Let's end with these last few comments here. Travis is in Portland. Awesome. King Naldo says, excuse me, any word on oil exploration by United Oil to see if they have found a partner to begin drilling for the oil in Jamaica? That would be the real game changer Jamaica yearns for. I'm unaware of that. Remains to be seen. Jay Fitz says, I used the Hoova app at a conference I attended. It was pretty cool. Yes. Patrice says, I like the app. Me too. It's going to be so awesome. And it's just like so right up our alley with what we're doing. And it's just going to make things so much easier for the team, so much better for you all attending. And I think it's going to be really, really great. Okay, I think we are coming to an end. We heading to New York tomorrow so we can good question, Shona. Quick question, Throp. Yes, that is next Saturday. Yes. We'll definitely be having a Throppers Think Tank next Saturday. I've been missing that. It's been crazy over here, but we will be doing it next Saturday. So you can mark your calendars, everyone. If you're a part of the Throppers Think Tank group, the Patreon group, we'll be meeting next Saturday at 12 p.m. I'm definitely looking forward to it. We missed last month's. All right. What's going off here now? We're going to leave it there. We will be back on Sunday doing a live stream on Sunday. As per usual, that'll be our usual long form weekly live stream. And of course, we'll be back here next Thursday for the bi-weekly live stream. Thank you all once again for hopping on this Thursday live stream. We'll see you again on Sunday and again on Thursday. Till then, have a great weekend, everybody. And talk to you soon. Peace. Hold on. I'm supposed to. All right. Throp here again. As you're probably hearing, Jamaica is on an unprecedented economical tear, and I know many people are interested to learn how they might be able to buy property in Jamaica, move here, or even start a business. Enter Throp-X. This is my annual Jamaica investment conference hosted at Travelers Beach Resort in Negril, Jamaica. If you're even considering moving to or investing in Jamaica, this is the best low-risk opportunity to do your due diligence and network with the very people driving the country forward. This event brings together a group of hand-picked, trusted, top-of-their-field individuals, the best developers, contractors, real estate pros, lenders, and government partners, all under one roof to help you make your move. This is very much an action-focused premium conference experience geared towards empowering you with the tools and team necessary to create your Jamaica dream. We've partnered with the Tax Administration of Jamaica to help you get your TRN and even open a bank account, all conveniently located on conference property. One of the most popular parts of the conference is the real estate tour. It's the best way to understand Jamaica's real estate market, seeing and experiencing properties firsthand so you can compare apples to apples. Another incredibly valuable part of the conference is the people you will meet. Attendees have been some of the most dynamic, inspiring individuals I have met doing incredible things with their lives. As always, this year will be fun, educational, and actionable, giving you the tools, insights, and connections to invest, build, and move to Jamaica. For more information, please visit Throp-X.com and join our mailing list.